Do you want me to tell you how to become YouTube famous? Don't use an electric fan. Anyway, welcome back. It's Arisa. I'm not gonna call myself Arisa Arisa because that's too long. Let's fucking go. The school day was coming to a close. Exhausted students had started counting off the minutes, but there was still one more class to go. Himitsu stopped in during the break to remind me that we had agreed to go shopping after school. I didn't clue in right away. The teacher was trying, unsuccessfully, to call the class to attention, but most students were ignoring him. Rest in peace. True, many of the students at the school were genuinely invested in their education and keen to learn. However, there was a good half of knuckleheads who sat through lessons only for the sake of the prestigious diploma. Hey! Same, man, same. Why worry about such trivialities as grades or write-ups when your whole life was planned out for you decades in advance? Settle down, the teacher kept repeating. Regrettably, he could not yell at them. Alright, if you don't calm down, you're not going to find out that we had a new girl join us today. Instantly, the classroom plunged into silence, broken only by a few whispers. That would be my reaction. Are you a student? In the middle of the year? Is she cute, I wonder? I wasn't particularly excited. I had grown accustomed to the constant hubbub, and I couldn't care less if the class gained another student since I didn't know the existing ones very well to begin with. Come in. A subdued murmur rippled through the classroom, but I felt too lazy to even lift my head. But then I felt a firm shove in the back. Nikolai, what the fuck? Hey! I turned around and looked at Kyosuke. He sat there, mouth ajar. Goodness, who could this new person be, if even these overindulged kids were reacting this way? I faced the blackboard, the classroom's whirlwind of scarlet cherry petals. What the fuck? She summoned the fucking, a petal storm. Does anyone really find this beautiful? But how? Why? The girl from my visions. This visitor from the past was standing a mere 6 feet from me. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself. My name is Catherine Winters. Actually, I know a few people here already. She quickly surveyed the classroom without pausing on anyone in particular. I look forward to studying with you. She deliberately distorted the standard Japanese greeting. Catherine Winters. So official. She had always been just Katya to me. She was the one with whom I had watched the petals fall. Then she moved away. She just left without giving a reason. She left me alone, breaking my heart and shattering my dreams. I should have been mad, should have hated her even, but I couldn't. Gosh, how corny that was. That nauseatingly fuck. It was as if I had become trapped inside a second-rate shoujo manga. Shoujo manga is Japanese comics targeted primarily at a female audience. Now, she just needed glittering sparkles around her face and some wispy clouds in the background. I would wait for it if it was nothing I wasn't used to. There are already fucking cherry petals flowering around, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. I rubbed my eyes and pinched myself hard. Nope, not a dream. Hey Nick, why is she back? Do you know something? Why haven't you said anything? Kyosuke was prattling on annoyingly behind my back. My world had contracted into a dark tunnel, with me at one end, immersed in total darkness, and her at the other, bathed in light. Except what was waiting for me at the other end was, admittedly, No paradise. I'm becoming fucking good at reading. Holy shit. It's like you're watching my evolution. Isn't this great? Meanwhile, the teacher showed Catherine to her desk. She walked past me without so much as a glance. I was at a loss for words. Was I to jump in the middle of the lesson and scream, "What are you doing here?" My classmates' initial astonishment was faded away in the meantime. Mary did, in fact, know Catherine because she had been a student at the school before. The rest probably hadn't even expected to see a foreigner. After all, there weren't that many of them even at our school. I doubted they considered me as a foreigner. That is, if they were aware of my existence at all. Or a ghost man, same as me, before. I met Katya in my first year of high school. Somehow we ended up dating. She and I, rather incredible. Her mother had been working in Japan for quite some time, same as my parents. Time passed and everything seemed to be going well. Then one day, Katya told me that we could no longer be together. Something about her mother getting transferred. I might have accepted the story. I might have forgiven and forgotten. But did it not hurt even in the slightest? Was I, her fellow colleague, whom she could simply wave goodbye to as one did when transferring to another office? Why, we could even have had an office farewell party. I would have stocked up on gifts. I'm sorry, goodbye now. Cold, hollow, everyday words. And after all that, she was just going to show up in my class? Nice to meet you. I look forward to studying with you. Seriously. Was there not another school in all of goddamn Tokyo? I couldn't believe it. But at the same time, somewhere deep inside, an ember of hope remained. What if she came back because of me? And that's the reason that she's here right now. Right, hope springs eternal. I was watching the seconds go by slowly on the clock. Talk to her. I had to talk to her. The bell, at last. I woke I worked up the courage and she floated right past me, heading for the door. Had I been too slow, too indecisive? What difference did it make now? Hey Nick, are you asleep or what? Kyosuke's words seemed to come from somewhere afar, as if from another world. But what was I going to say to her? Hi, long time no see, how are things? Anyway, why had she gotten up to me first? Was she scared? Shy? Nonsense, that wasn't like Katya at all. Then she must not have wanted to talk. I knew her too well. Kyosuke was shaking me frantically and muttering something, but I was ignoring him. Nico-kun. A new voice. Nico-kun! Himitsu. I lifted my eyes and looked somewhere past her. Yup. Just said Himitsu. Where's the Nico-kun? Do you read me? I snapped back to reality. Oh, it goes gravity. Yeah, what is it? You've forgotten again, haven't you? She was pouting comically. I knew you would, so I decided to come fetch you. Oh, yes. We are going to have a date with her. My coffee's so goddamn bitter. What did she want with me? Fetch me? What for? Oh yes, we had made some kind of plans. You're as forgetful as Hisa from Katawa Shoujo, my man. But what did that matter now? Man, you're so short-sighted. Alright? Catherine had left and she was moving further away with each passing second. Perhaps the distance between us now was far greater than all the miles of the Pacific Ocean. But I had no idea what I was going to say to her. I had long been secretly hoping to get over her and move on, and now this. Regardless, I had to make a decision. If I were going to run after her, I had to get going. Shut the fuck up, Catherine. I don't give a fuck anymore. Give me my other girl, man. Ibamura, give me her. How much longer was I going to let this continue? A surgeon has to excise the rotting flesh to prevent the disease from spreading to the rest of the body. Since we were classmates now, I was bound to find out eventually why she had come back. That's that's actually good reasoning. Props to Nikolai. Of course, I remember, I said confidently, stood up, took Himitsu by the hand and headed for the door. That's what it is. Wait, what about? I turned around. I turned and gave Keisuke a glare so furious that he shut up immediately. We don't give a fuck, Kyosuke. Perhaps you should diet. You should consider dieting and we would talk to you. Moving on. Anger, resentment, longing, all these emotions had intermingled within me. I was walking down the hallway, oblivious to the world around me. I only stopped when we reached the lockers. I looked around the schoolyard. What if she was still here? Nico-kun, Himitsu ventured timidly. What? I snapped back, turned around, and realized I was still holding her hand. Sorry. I let go of the hand. Did something happen? Don't say it. I can see something's wrong. Kyosuke-san looked agitated too. Oh my god, are you still fucking... San is Japanese honorific. Expresses respect used towards those older, higher in status or esteemed by the speaker. Basically, it's just an honorific for respect. Kyosuke? I snickered. The only thing likely to agitate him is some unrealistically shaped anime girl. The look in Himitsu's large eyes did not change. I meant that he was telling me about honor. Oh my god. I meant that she was telling. Come on, come on. You can do this, you can do this. I meant that he was telling me about another anime again. You know, the one about magical girls. They showed at 6, he must have seen it. Why was I lying to her? Why was I lying now? I had to know I couldn't hide Catherine forever. Sooner or later, Himitsu was going to run into her at school. Or worse yet, Catherine would show up at her house. They did know each other after all. Anyway, it's nothing. Let's go to your store. Where did you say it was again? By the station? Himitsu wasn't going to interrogate me. It wasn't in her nature. I need coffee. My throat's drying up incredibly quickly. Guess what? So the teacher asked Reikun today. Where did man first land on the moon? And you know what he said? 2079. Like, can you believe it? Mm-hmm. And then, during PE, Himitsu carried on as though nothing had happened. Maybe nothing did, where she was concerned. From the outside, the store looked rather humdrum. Was it perhaps reasonable pricing that drew the girls? By the standards of her school, Himitsu's family was not extremely wealthy, but her father worked for the government, so they weren't poor either. Man, my readings become poor. We went inside. Himitsu was trying on one outfit after another. How do you like it? It's fine. How about this one? I think the color will be in fashion this winter. It's fine. What do you think of this dress? A little discontent that I was starting to seep into her voice. I like that last one more. If only I knew what she'd tried on before. I was in no mood for a fashion show. To me, Himitsu looked good in any outfit. Why did she even need all this stuff? Did she not have enough clothes? Really, why? I had known Himitsu for a while, but I couldn't recall her ever being in a relationship. But she was no longer a child. She was now a beautiful young woman. It was high time for her to get a boyfriend. Hold it, was I feeling jealous? Man, she's clearly waiting for you. You even said that she liked you. What are you on about? No, of course not. Anyway, if she had found somebody, I would have been the first to hear about it. I think the main thing is that you like it. But I like a lot of them. I like this and this. This one, not so much. Himitsu was shuffling the clothes. What had she done to deserve such treatment from me? Catherine's back, I said, trying to be casual. What? She seemed to not have grasped what I said. She showed up in class today, right before the last lesson. I guess we're going to be classmates now. Really? Himitsu turned drastically gloomy and dropped the dress that she liked so much. I see that you're not too happy. I'm happy. I just thought that she moved away permanently. Well, that's what I thought too. And what is she planning to do now? What do you mean? I mean, Himitsu was hurriedly putting the clothes back on the rack. She's been gone so long. You're seniors already. You know, honestly, I hadn't made an inquiry into her life plans. Hell, I hadn't even talked to her. What about you? Are you glad, Nico-kun? She pried gently. It's not so straightforward for me, but what's to be glad about? You know full well what happened last year. Yeah, but that's all in the past now. We'll see what happens. I'm sure she has her reasons. At least I was no longer lying to Himitsu. Congrats, man. Congrats, Nikolai. Right, I didn't tell her everything in my was in Right. I didn't tell her everything that was in my heart, but what would have that achieved? In the end, this was between Catherine and me. Are you not going to buy anything? She paused to think. No, everything's expensive here and I'm almost out of my allowance money for the month. But it's only the 7th, I exclaimed. Well, let me make you a present then. That white and yellow dress, it looked good on you. No, it didn't. Himitsu countered unexpectedly. I look fat in it. You look fat? I laughed loudly, drawing rare looks from the store clerks and other shoppers. See? This is why I didn't want to come, I whispered. Himitsu just smiled and said nothing back. Girls are just strange creatures. They really are, man. The only girl that I met that's not a creature, that's actually a normal fucking person, was my seatmate when I was still in last year. Let's not give out too many details. That girl that sat beside me last year, she's a normal person. I like her. She's not the one of the weird ones. It's okay. We hardly talked on the way home. I felt awkward. Now would have been a great time to hear stories about Reikun or Saya-chan, who couldn't hit a volleyball over the net. Don't feel bad because of Katya. I feel fine. Come on, I can see it. Don't worry, I'll be alright. Enough time has passed. The important thing is that you believe that yourself. I do believe it. It's just that it's all a bit unexpected. But you know how she is. She comes uninvited, leaves without saying goodbye, always self-centered. I smiled involuntarily. Himitsu noticed and grew even sadder. Thankfully, we had neared the house. Well, I'll be off. See you tomorrow? See ya. I wanted to say something else, but instead I merely watched as she walked through the gate. I spent the rest of the day trying futilely not to think about Catherine. At this pace, I could really go crazy. Every 5 minutes the phone rang. I didn't pick up because I knew it was Kyosuke. Who else would be calling me? When it came to that crazy otaku, I was lucky he wasn't pounding on my door. In the end, I simply unplugged the phone. You unplugged your phone like two times now. I tried to keep myself distracted with the TV and video games, but these got boring quickly. What video games were there like fucking in the 80s? I mean, I think they'd be pretty good, but not that entertaining. I mean, compared to what we have now, of course. I even did some homework for a change. Played the bass for a bit, and made a simple dinner. Needless to say, I would have rather eaten Himitsu's cooking. Man, Nikolai, hit me up, come to my house, I'd cook for you, like my specialty dish. But she must have been busy. Not that Himitsu was under any obligation to make meals for me on a daily basis, I just got used to it. Now that I was thinking about it, I realized that habits had become an integral part of my life, to the point where they started to take center stage in it. Catherine's reappearance was threatening to throw everything off balance. It was as if I'd grown senile and flabby in the past year and a half, to the point where I craved stability above all. On the other hand, why did I need this upheaval in my life if nothing good was going to come of it anyway? Suddenly the doorbell rang. It was probably Himitsu, but at this hour? I slowly made my way towards the door, but halfway a thought struck me. Why would Himitsu need to use the bell? Then it had to be Kyosuke. Although it was definitely late for him. The evening routine for my well-fed friend was anime and to bed. But whatever. Is it Catherine? However, there was nobody at the door at all. I looked around and walked outside, but the street was empty. Stupid pranksters. Man, I get that a lot, man. When your house has fucking doorbells, kids just fucking pound on it like it's a fucking percussion instrument. I hate it a lot. But it's probably not a prankster in Nikolai's case. Yet someone had definitely been here, since there was a note on the doorstep which I discovered on my way back. The note read, "Nikolai-san, be careful. You are in grave danger. Certain very powerful people linked to your father are after you. This is not a prank or a hoax." Yeah, sure. I suppose next I should have expected to find a dusty magical girl in my living room ready to perform my every command. It's because we punched that guy, man. Do you not remember our heroic deed? "Kyosuke," I shouted. "It's not funny. And why bring my dad into this? My parents. The incident. They fled the Soviet Union when I was 7. In Japan, they worked as regular engineers at the Kobayashi Corporation. After they passed, I had the option of going back to the USSR to live with my relatives, but I ended up staying, seeing that I had lived in Japan most of my life. My father's friends helped me take care of the legal formalities, while his bank account kept me from starving. "Kyosuke," I called out less confidently this time. The only reply I got was from a neighbor who barked something about it being nighttime and my yelling, "Oh yeah, let me tell you an interesting story." It's not really a story, it's just something I want to share with you guys. Houses in the Philippines? Oh, they're like fucking twins. A house is connected to another house. Like there wasn't even any space at all. Like where your fucking wall ends, that's the start of your neighbor's house. Your neighbors could clearly hear you. That's why I'm very reluctant to do any videos at all. But oh well, when I record videos, feels like I'm talking to myself anyway, and I have an excuse to talk to myself now, thanks to you guys. Thank you. Well, maybe it wasn't Kyosuke, but then who? If the note was a joke, its authors had failed to deliver the punchline. And what if there was a more straightforward explanation? What if it was for real? I twiddled the note in my fingers. It was an ordinary piece of notebook paper, carefully clipped. The words were Japanese, written in a steady hand, although the spelling left something to be desired. Why write by hand at all, I wondered. Wouldn't it have been simpler to type? Or in a pinch, to clip words from a newspaper and assemble the note that way, like in those cheesy crime shows. That's a lot of work, man. At any rate, Kyosuke could be ruled out. I would have recognized his handwriting. You're in grave danger, a link to your father. It was what if it were those bunks? Just because their parents were loaded, it didn't necessarily mean that those brats had A's in Japanese. Or perhaps Eli-sama's servants had decided to take revenge for the cafeteria incident. No, that was ridiculous. Who could ultimately want something with a simple Japanese student? And why now, of all times? Right on the heels of Catherine's return too. To be honest, I couldn't remember how good Catherine's Japanese grades were. Man, grades aren't all. I even a foreigner could write in perfect Japanese, and those guys might not have even studied Japan at all. Self-studying is a thing, man. But I'm saying it's not the grades that dictate how good those are. So there are actually a lot of fucking suspects that you could consider. I couldn't remember her handwriting either, but I knew she had spent considerably less time in Japan than I. Catherine had always been a decent but not straight-A student, and after a year and a half without practice, at any rate, she was the prime suspect now. It didn't even occur to me to ask what for. Her motives had stopped making sense to me long before this. Either way, I had to try to find some answers at school the next day. But now it was time for bed. I hadn't felt so worn out at the end of the day in a long time. But sleep didn't want to come. I kept tossing and turning, and I was getting mad at myself for it. Meanwhile, the clock ticked past midnight. I flinched and perked up my ears. Perhaps I didn't imagine it. Not again? I hopped out of bed, eyes scanning the room for anything I could use for self-defense. The base wouldn't do. I walked up to the door on stiff legs and asked in a shaky voice, "Who is it?" "Nico-kun." I breathed a sigh of relief and opened the door. "Do you know what time it is?" "Sorry, but your phone is off." "So? Is that a reason to turn up here in the dead of the night?" "No, but I tried calling several times. I wanted to know if you were going to school tomorrow." "If you're so concerned about my attendance, you shouldn't wake me up in the middle of the night." "I'm sorry." Suddenly, I felt terrible. Himitsu was just being herself while I was taking out my problems on her. She wasn't the one who had brought Catherine back or left the note. "Not, it's me. I should be apologizing. It's been an awful day. I mean, it's been a tough day, very full of events, and I was already asleep. Trying to sleep at any rate." "Okay, I'll be going then. Good night." You should have at least cooked some fucking dinner for me, bitch. What the fuck? Such a waste of cooking skill. I shut the door behind her and returned to bed. If today was tough, what would tomorrow be like? It's not like that at all. 1987. Alright. It's a beautiful day outside. Birds are chirping, bells are ringing. At days like these, kids like me should be fucking some girls. 100 bells were chiming with 100 melodies in my head, announcing the morning. In that medley was the cheerful chirping of the birds, the construction on the neighboring street, the boisterous shouts of the street neighbors, as well as that damn fan which had not quit blowing for a second. Same, and the grumpy muttering somewhere close by. It's the same dialogue, and they're not using it just to be lazy. They're using it like as a to drive a point that Nikolai's days are very like what's the word for it? Monotonous? I don't think that's the word I'm looking for, but it's the same each and every time. That's the point it makes, I guess. The piercing gaze of large green eyes, the pouting lips, and the two red braids. Hold on. This had already happened before. I jumped out of bed, stared in bewilderment at Himitsu, and blurted out, "What's the day today?" "Tuesday." She replied, frightened. "What's wrong?" "Tuesday, huh? Alright, then let it be Tuesday." I scanned the room meticulously. The open notebook I had tried doing my homework in the night before was still in the same spot. This meant that everything was fine. It occurred to me that the new day hadn't arrived. "What do you mean?" "Well, like when you wake up and today's still yesterday, as in some sci-fi novel." Oh, look at her smiling. You're gonna be very fucking hurt when I prioritize my girl Iwamura instead of you. "You read too many of them." Himitsu laughed. Things seemed to be running their ordinary course, except now I became aware of a peculiar smell. I sniffed the air. "Is that?" "Yeah, man, it's borscht. I fucking tell you." "Yes, it is. I prepared it ahead of time." A big pot of borscht sat on the stove. I mean, if you had given me some context as to what borscht was, I might have. Oh man, the music. Good lord, why? Didn't you ask for it yesterday? No, I didn't. I just mentioned it casually. It was a joke. Well, you know what? She said menacingly. You, you gonna have. I imagined that she also fucking. Oh man. I imagine the stereotypical black guys saying that fucking quote, man. You gonna have to eat this joke now. Soup for breakfast now, that was undoubtedly unorthodox. Himitsu outdid herself this time. Suppose yesterday I'd let drop something about foie gras and a 1978 Chateau Margaux. Would they be awaiting me now too? Probably. In any case, the borscht tasted quite well. Granted, it wasn't exactly a traditional recipe. Well, Himitsu was sitting opposite to me, looking at me intently. Why aren't you eating? I'm waiting to hear what you think. Oh yeah, sorry, it's delicious. Really? Shouldn't believe me. Yes, really. Why should it be otherwise? Himitsu tried the borscht. Okay, it is indeed good. Now don't you dare complain about my cooking again. When did I ever complain? You just don't get my humor. I do get it. Just some light-hearted banter. But but Himitsu did not look her usual self. Every so often, a shadow of sadness passed over her face. Did something happen? No, what about you? What about me? At that moment, the events of the previous day flashed before my eyes. The surprise awakening me and the borscht had temporarily made me forget about Catherine and the note. Everything's fine, just a bit unexpected. Don't worry, I'll be alright. Good, if you say so. Nikolai's not the type to tell anyone about everything, huh? I'm the type to do that. Like, if someone sent me a fucking note like that, I'd tell my fucking friends. I'd ask them to sleep over here. I'm the type that would get people involved in accidents. That's for sure. She smiled. Let's go or we'll be late for school. Whatever. I was going to say it in Himitsu's voice, but my throat felt so fucking dry. We exchanged only a few words along the way. Somehow we just couldn't find a suitable subject for conversation. I didn't want to tell Himitsu about the note just yet, and she probably hadn't had anything happen to her overnight that was worth sharing. Sure, I could have talked about some random stuff, but that wasn't my thing. You're not like me, Nikolai. I talk about random stuff, as the viewer can probably tell. I like dragging things out. I speak a lot because I couldn't speak at home. I'm too shy to do it. Finally, we reached the school. No incidents today, I hope. I snickered. Alright, I'll see you later. Don't sleep in class. Himitsu smiled and headed for her classroom. Okay, now I had to think of a way to snag Catherine's notebook without anyone noticing. I hoped she'd written something in it, preferably in Japanese. I was walking down the hallway, lost in thought, when someone called my name. Holy shit! Man! Look, it's Colonel Sanders. What's up, KFC guy? I heard that you've been dominating the motherfucking Japanese scene. I heard you're pretty successful, especially around Christmas when everyone goes to your fucking chain to buy chicken. Anakin-kun, hold it there. School principal. What was his name? Yes. Kiyama Sensei. What is it? Sensei means teacher or doctor in Japanese. Often used as an honorific or title when addressing people of these professions, especially when pupils address their teachers, similar to adding doctor before someone's name. Okay. Apparently, you call mangakas sensei as well. Don't know why. Follow me to my office, please. But the class is about to start. I protested as though these kinds of conversations were something new to me. It wouldn't take long. A wiry old man in the 70s, or perhaps even longer, Kiyama Sensei was always glowingly polite and cold. On top of that, he dressed and carried himself in a strictly European manner. I had always been astounded at those Japanese who exhibited just such obsequious devotion to Western culture and a way of life. Man, I'm learning new shit in here. I could think of any number of sayings on this subject along the lines of "to thine own self be true." Although here, this had become something of a tradition in its own right. This was, after all, an elite school. Like UST. Hey, Ash, you're watching. This is some UST level shit, eh? Don't you agree? What's the issue, exactly? Anakin-kun, please come. Well, naturally, he wasn't going to reprimand me in the middle of the hallway in the presence of the whole school, was he? Oohoo! We went into his office, but someone was already there. Huh, well, if it wasn't Ojo-sama herself. Ojo-sama is a young lady in Japanese manner, usually used to address daughters of very wealthy and/or noble families. Can be used with irony or sarcasm. Standing next to the principal's desk was in fact Ellie-sama. Ah, the boar from yesterday. She seemed equally surprised to see me here. Yesterday's cafeteria incident came back to me in vivid detail. The madam did give me a handkerchief in the end, to wipe myself, and I tossed it into the dirty laundry at the house. Oops, I need to return it. Let me guess, are you a frequent visitor here? She asked sarcastically. Well, I certainly didn't expect to find myself groveling at your Grace's feet today. That will be all, Kobayashi-san. We had already read the san thing. Kobayashi. That last name sounded familiar. Ellie politely took her leave and walked past me, angrily flashing her eyes. So, Anakin-kun, do you know why you are here? I've got a couple ideas. The principal sighed and gave me a sad look from behind his glasses. Anakin-kun, I understand that Japanese culture is alien to you, but here at the school we have students of every nationality. We strive to provide all of them with the best opportunities. In return, we expect appropriate respect and adherence to the school rules. Man, I wish I could have studied to schools with different nationality people. Like, it would have been such a blast to talk to them, you know? Like, Spanish people, like, oh man, just thinking about it. Like, Russians, Japanese, Chinese, Koreans, like, I just want to talk to people of different nationalities. It could be such a fucking fun thing. I don't know how much I would want to try that out. I would want to befriend another person from another country. Man, that would be such a fucking blast. I'm so fucking jealous now. You know? Here we go. I think you ought to understand this, especially considering your situation. What about my situation? Let's not make this personal now. Know what I meant. Embarrassed, he removed his glasses and began wiping them slowly with a special cloth. I wanted to say that we make no distinctions between the students. The rules here are the same for everyone. I understand. In that case, you must also understand you cannot just skip classes for no reason. He put his glasses back on and looked intently at me. And speaking of your attendance record, I understand. But if you understand, why do you keep skipping? Do you know who our school sponsor is? I shrugged. Kobayashi Corporation. This name does mean something to you, does it not? The company's president himself is chairman of the school board of trustees, the century-old traditions. At that point, I chewed them out. Kobayashi Corporation of Kobayashi Eli. Things were adding up. Interesting. I wondered, would she still be the school queen if she had been born to an ordinary family? A family like Iwamura's, for instance. Anakin-kun, what was that smirk for? Did I say something funny? I'm very sorry, Kayama-sensei. This will not happen again. I bowed to the ground. Alright, that's enough. The old man apparently hadn't been expecting this degree of repentance from me. I had seen the error of my ways, and I promise this will never happen again. Well, that's the most important thing, the fact that you understand, and to avoid the repetition. Alright, go now, or you'll be late for your class. Thank you very much, I'm going now. You can tell, Nikolai wasn't sincere. Nikolai wasn't fucking sincere. He just wanted to get the fuck out of there. I formally took my leave and marched out of his office. Principal's offices aren't that bad. I had been to them a lot. Discipline's office, I'd been a frequent visitor. Not because I'm a troublemaker, but because I'm skipping school a lot. Yes, what a surprise. So, why didn't you tell me that this Elisam of yours is a Kobayashi? There were still a couple of minutes left before the beginning of the lesson. I did tell you. No, you didn't. You said her grandfather was chairman of board of trustees. I'm supposed to know who this chairman is. That's the problem, that you never know anything. Anyway, why do you ask? I got called into the principal's office just now. For skipping classes? What else? At that moment, the bell rang. Only now did I remember about Catherine. She sat behind me so I couldn't watch her continuously. Was she writing anything down? How was I going to grab her notebook and notice anyway? Surprisingly, I was hardly at all anxious. Sleep had clarified my thinking such that I found the whole situation. Sleep had clarified my thinking such that I found the whole situation more intriguing than troubling. The closing bell finally rang. Catherine got up and left the classroom. This was my chance. I slowly approached her desk, trying to look as inconspicuous as possible. I glanced around. My classmates were all minding their own business. I leaned down, opened the notebook, and flipped through the pages. No, the handwriting was completely different. But how? Why? Sure, I had some issues with Japanese characters, but this much was obvious. Catherine did not write yesterday's note. Anakin-kun. I stood at attention. Caught, exposed, disgraced. Go to the teacher's room with Iwamura-san and bring the printouts for the next lesson. God damn, this is our chance once again, boys. That was close. I looked at Iwamura. She was standing and staring indifferently out of the window. Right now, I wanted only one thing. To get out of the classroom as quickly as possible. Hi. Well, should we get going? I can go alone. She didn't even look in my direction. But we were told to go together. I'll manage by myself. Under different circumstances, I would have gladly agreed with her. Listen, I understand and all, but I've already been to the principal's office today, and I'm not burning with desire to go back. As you wish. Iwamura shrugged and headed toward the door. The hallways were unexpectedly deserted. It was as if the students were hiding out in anticipation of something. Iwamura walked in silence. After I had defended her a day earlier, this is how she was acting. The awkward silence desperately demanded a conversation to break it. So, do you have to walk like this often? I couldn't think of anything better to say. She raised her eyes and looked at me in surprise. That was a first. So, I did achieve the desired effect after all. Well, of course, I'm the class president. I fucking don't remember what voice I gave her. Oh, yeah, right. Sorry. Silence again. Wait, this seems familiar. Alright, Ash showed this scene to me. So we got the same route? It's just that we've never really talked. I don't even know your first name. Why do you need to? It's only natural. Here, I'm Nikolai. This visibly embarrassed Iwamura, who seemed to be hesitating with the answer. In Japanese culture, addressing someone by their first name is a sign of familiarity. This was especially true in our case. But I didn't hold fast to all these conventions. Kagome, she said quietly. What, really? A loud burst of laughter escaped my lips, spooking several passing girls who stared the wide berth around us. What's so funny? Kagome frowned. Nothing. It's just, well, it's a weird name. Kagome is a Japanese children's game and a song from it. That's the reason Nikolai is surprised about his classmate's strange name. Kagome is a beautiful name, if you ask me about it. No weirder than yours. What's wrong with my name? It's a common name. Nikolai, Nicholas, if you prefer, Nick. Nicocado avocado, man. You're all the same. She was starting to get worked up, it seemed. Who's we? The gaijin? Gaijin means foreigner in Japanese, often used in derogatory, disdainful context and manner. No, the local morons. How rude. Kagome snorted and turned away. Listen, do you have a problem with me? I think it's you who has a problem. Oh, really? And what is it? I'm curious. Who's that new foreigner? I opened my mouth in surprise. Why would she be asking about that? Why? You've been staring at her non-stop for the last 2 days. Have you been spying on me? I'd have to be blind not to notice. She responded unfazed. That's really none of your business. Of course it's not, Kagome smirked. But neither is my life any of your business, so why are you prying? She had a point. Say she is someone you'd known before. Say you used to see each other. Say you don't know her. Does my choices make a huge impact or not? Well, let's assess the choices as I like to do with this game. Let's start from the bottom. Say that you don't know her. It's lying and... Lying to her wouldn't make her mad or anything, so that's a possibility. I could choose that one. Say that you used to see each other. This means that I'm addressing her presence and that she is indeed someone I know. Say she is someone you'd known before. What's the difference between this and the second choice? Is that used to see each other, someone you'd known before. It's just the closeness that's the difference between the two. I guess I'm picking the say you don't know her option. That seems the most logical if we're going towards the Iwamura route. She's nobody. I don't know, it doesn't matter. I see. Kagome is pretty quick to catch on things. Like, she notices hints a lot. I see that from her character. Kagome drawled. She clearly didn't buy it. Why'd you bring her up anyway? It's not every day that we have a new student in our class, and such a striking foreigner as that. I'm a foreigner too, you know. She looked me up and down, snickered, and said, "Yeah, sure." I knew it. Wrong features for Japanese, but now I was being denied the title of proper gaijin as well. Are you always like this? I was starting to lose my temper. We've arrived. Wait here. Hey. Just in time too before I could open my mouth. Kagome went into the teacher's room, but before I knew it, she was back with a large pile of papers. Carry it. What a bitch! I mean, I had volunteered to do it. I'm that kind of person. But what a bitch, you know? You're supposed to say nothing. When someone offers to carry your papers for you, sure, you could say yes. That's common courtesy, but fucking say carry it? You're a bitch, you know that? What, all of it? I couldn't see any way to carry the heap comfortably. What if each of us would carry a half? Didn't you volunteer to come along? No, I didn't. The teacher sent me, if you recall. Okay, give it to me. Kagome attempted to take all of the papers from me at once. Oh no, that won't do either. Which of us looked more pathetic now? Spurred on by wounded pride, I walked past, so the return trip took considerably less time. I'm enjoying the game so far. I want to keep recording this for as long as possible so I have something to look back to sometime in the future. I dropped the mountain of papers onto the teacher's desk with a thud while Kagome took her seat and returned to her customary window gazing. I guess no one deserves to be bullied, but man, I could almost understand those punks from yesterday. Same, same. Honestly, all her appeal is gone to me by this point. She doesn't seem that appealing anymore. But we'll stick to her. Judging by the clock, the bell was less than a minute away. Catherine's desk was empty. I turned to Michael, who sat next to her. Did Catherine, the new girl, did she go somewhere? I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention. Why? Never mind, no reason. Bummed, I sat down at my desk. Could she have somehow noticed that I opened her notebook? No way, Catherine wasn't even in the classroom at the time. Did someone tell her? How long ago did she leave? I'm telling you, I don't know. Are you talking about the new girl? I think she went to see the principal. A classmate had overheard our conversation. Thanks. The chair beneath me felt like it was on fire. That's how badly I wanted to run after her. But to what end? What was I going to tell her? As the bell sounded, my feet seemed to acquire a will of their own. They carried me to the door, then past the teacher, and out into the hallway. I turned the corner at a run and stopped. What the hell was I doing? Why all this? The school had gone silent, frozen still as though in awe of the inescapable might of pure knowledge. I was slowly tiptoeing through the empty hallways towards the principal's office. If I were to run to one of the teachers now, I would have to explain myself all over again. On the other hand, it would be no better if I showed up at his office myself. Speaking of which, here it was. I pressed nearer to the door, but no sound was coming from the other side. Either they were playing the silent game or Catherine was not there. So what next? It was too late to go back to class. Don't fucking skip now, man. Return. I wandered the empty hallways and didn't even notice how I ended up in the old wing. Our school had been repeatedly rebuilt since it first opened its doors right after the war, with new buildings added on as the old ones fell into decay. Inefficient, if you ask me. Why not tear down the old structure first and build a new one in its place? Theoretically, there shouldn't have been anyone in this wing, but suddenly I heard music. A guitar. The sound was coming from what, judging by the plaque, it was the old music classroom. I opened the door. A crack. Ha! No one other but Ellie Kobayashi herself. Of all people, she was the last one I expected to find here. She was doing an excellent job in playing, though. The tune was beautiful, and the execution was equally good. Music, after all, was one area that I knew a thing or two about. Yeah, the bass. Ellie herself seemed to have been glowing with happiness, looking nothing like the prim princess whom I encountered in the principal's office that morning. Cool though this lyrical digression was, I certainly couldn't let a chance like this slip by. Well, and who do we have here? The guitar went abruptly mute. This is a boss music. My applause was the only sound interrupting the silence that had descended on the place. Ojo-sama, I did not know that you played the guitar too. Many emotions flitted across her face. Embarrassment, surprise, annoyance, resentment. You! Please, pay no attention to me. Carry on. You! What are you doing here? I followed the beautiful siren song, but I could have never imagined it would be you, Ojo-sama. Enough! Ellie blurted out, stood up abruptly and froze, as if not knowing what to do next. Hey, come on. Don't take offense. I just didn't realize that you played the guitar. Somehow, I don't associate with you on this instrument. Now, a violin, maybe. I can play the violin too. She cut in. Really? Well, that's cool. I'd already forgotten the voice I gave her. Fuck me. I'm so bad at remembering things. And why aren't you in class? It's no mystery why I'm skipping. What about yourself? I'm not skipping. We are having a break. Alright. I smirked. You don't have to justify yourself to me. I'm not justifying myself. You, on the other hand, should watch your behavior. What were you doing at the principal's this morning? I came for a cup of tea. In any case, it's none of your business. I wasn't trying to be rude, but that's precisely how it came out. Actually, it is my business, seeing as my grandfather. I'm aware. She gave me a surprised look. But is it a secret? No, of course not. Even if you are... Suddenly we heard a voice in the hallway. Hide! Ellie whispered anxiously. Why? It's a break for you and I'm used to it, I said sardonically, albeit in a lower voice. She didn't answer but was looking at me pleadingly. She must have had her reasons. Whatever. Very well, except I don't see where we could hide here. In here. Ellie grabbed my hand and dragged me to a small door, which I had missed initially. The door opened into a cramped utility closet. What, just like this? I hesitated. The closet was definitely not roomy enough for two people. Get in already. However, she clearly thought otherwise because the next thing I knew, she literally shoved me inside before stepping in herself. The CG is good, man. Great, we were now packed in like sardines. And this place reeked. Yet, perceptible above the stench of dampness, moldiness, and dust was the sweet aroma of Ellie's perfume. A killer combination to say the least. The classroom door opened and several people entered. I think I heard something. You must have misheard, Kiyama-sensei. The principal was talking to one of the teachers. I'm not hearing things. I may be getting on in years, but I'm still more capable. Heavens, no, Kiyama-sensei, I didn't mean anything of the sort. Anyhow, this ramshack place should have been torn down long ago. A third voice joined the conversation. This ramshackle place, as he called it. The principal let out a sigh so loud I could hear it clearly even from the closet. I remember arriving here as a young teacher, right after the war. Traded in my rifle for a pointer, you could say. Chalk taking the place of ammunition. Who would have guessed our principal was so sentimental? I shifted my gaze towards Ellie. She turned red like a boiled lobster, her breathing becoming rapid and irregular. An awkward situation, to be sure. I'd love to be in that situation. Not necessarily with Ellie, but to be in that situation, man. People would kill to be in that situation. I wouldn't, but I'd definitely want to experience something like that. Just because she played the guitar didn't necessarily mean she had lots of experience in the area of, well, you know. But who was I to judge? Yes, I'd gone out with Catherine, but I'd gotten somewhat used to her, whereas here was a completely different girl standing next to me. And by next, I mean right up against me. My heart started beating faster, and I gulped loudly. Ellie gave me a frightened look. I made a face that was supposed to mean quiet. She seemed to have understood. Meanwhile, the principal continued this oration. And after all that you talk of, this is our cultural heritage. This should be made into a museum. Certainly, Kiyama-sensei, but let's go now. We have a meeting coming up. Yes, forgive me. I got a bit carried away. He had forgotten. Nice! The moment that the door closed behind them, Ellie came flying out of the closet. I stepped out after her. I had to say something. It was a bit tight in there. She looked at me, dumbfounded. Tight? Tight, you pervert! You groped me all over. I didn't touch you at all. You groped me with your eyes then. You don't think I could see it? Feel it? Calm down already, will ya? How can you grope someone with your eyes? And anyway, it was your idea to hide in there. Yes, but... Well, that's all there is to it. Ellie looked sad now, and she lowered her gaze. I suppose it's unbefitting for a young lady to behave like this, is it? She smiled sadly. Well, I'm not the best person to give advice on these matters, but for what it's worth, I don't think there was anything wrong with playing the guitar. You must enjoy music a lot, huh? Yes. This time her smile was more genuine. Then I don't see a problem. Just then a distant bell announced it was break time. Oh, we've opened up to her, huh? Alright. I wasn't expecting an Ellie route, but okay. This game is in development, yeah? I want to fucking play more, but it's in development. Alright, I've got to go. See ya. Her final parting smile was utterly disarming. Whoops. I was left standing alone inside an empty music classroom of the abandoned old wing. What a strange girl. Well, would you look at that? 1 hour and 9 minutes. My coffee's so fucking cold. And bitter. This whole musical interlude made me forget entirely the reason I had wound up in here in the first place. I'd been looking for Catherine. I had absolutely no desire to go back to class where I could expect another scolding. Simply skipping was bad enough, but to have run up the classroom right in front of the teacher. No, thank you. I managed to slip out of the building unnoticed, and here I was, free as a wind, strolling down the sidewalk in one of Tokyo's central districts. I just wanted to chill out. This whole day had been a waste, and the only thing I had achieved was determining that Catherine had not written yesterday's note. The note, unpleasant thoughts crept into my head. But if she didn't write it, who did? What if it wasn't a prank? Just what was going on? More had happened to me in the past day and a half than over the preceding year and a half. The entire time I hadn't socialized with anyone except maybe Himitsu. Well, add to that Kosuke and occasionally Michael. Oh, Michael was his friend, huh? Okay. Now Catherine was back and there were Kagome and Ellie. What next? Was I going to turn into a magical girl? As if by chance I ended up near a familiar bar. A couple rounds of beer were an absolute must right now. I'd relax, clear my head. You're underage, aren't you? You're fucking underage. The inside wasn't crowded, which made sense for the time of day. People were supposed to be either at work or at school. Like in that joke about three-story building in a hurricane. Even though I wasn't a stranger here, I always had a fake passport on the ready. A classmate whose father worked in law enforcement had hooked me up at one point. There were lots of students at our school who had these passes to the adult life. How would you prove it wasn't real? A document was a document, especially when some insolent snot was shoving it in your face. Not to mention that the bar's owner was Russian. Chuckling, he usually told me that people used to be a pirate. That he used to be a pirate who got shipwrecked off the coast of Japan. That was a tall tale, of course. Most likely, he was just a regular immigrant like my parents. I sat down the counter and ordered the beer. Hey, Korea, what's up? You're early today. Yeah, it's just the way that it worked out. You aren't going to get into trouble at school, are you? You see how they're strict about these things here. I giggled nervously. Okay, I see. It's none of my business. A good bartender is invariably a good psychologist. It is almost a qualification for the job. The beer at this place was served in pint-sized mugs, which made me very happy. Squealing with pleasure after downing a tiny glass in one gulp was not my thing. Yuck! I took a copious draught. Catherine's back. The bartender raised his eyebrows and asked with an unfeigned surprise. And what are you going to do now? At times I wondered if showing empathy to customers was something more than just a professional skill form. What can I do? She hasn't been too eager to talk, and neither have I. At any rate, I am certainly not going to throw myself at her. And why has she come back? She says because of her mother's work. I suppose that's the case. She wouldn't come back by herself, would she? Most likely not. So I'm in this weird spot now. You know how they say. Life's like a zebra, a black stripe followed by a white stripe, then black one again, then a white one again. Yep, and that's ours. We both laughed. You know what, Korea, don't get down, he said encouragingly. You still have your whole life ahead of you. The two of you would make 100 times over before the end, and if not, you'll find yourself another girl. Look how many of them are around. The bartender spread out his arms, inviting apprehensive looks from a few schoolgirls nestled at a table in the furthest corner of the room. Show me those schoolgirls. Thanks for the comforting words. There's so much else besides that anyway. Life is in full swing. And each wing hits you in the head. Gee, did they keep a glossary of sayings under that counter? The bar door flew open and a group of young people entered, having immediately recognized among them the punks from yesterday before. Oh my god, I'm bad. Having immediately recognized among them the punks from yesterday before, I instantly buried my face in the mug. Was I scared? So it seemed. They sat down at the table and ordered a beer and cocktails for the girls. You know them? The bartender asked quietly, leaning in toward me. I wouldn't say I know them, but we've met. I gave the occasionally sidelong glance. I wondered if I should get up and leave. Wouldn't that look cowardly, though? Then again, to whom? They hadn't even noticed me. No sooner did I think than one of the guys got up and walked over to the counter. Hey, I know you. If you say so, I said as calmly as possible without even sparing him a glance. I don't think you know who you're dealing with, Gaijin. I'm not dealing with anyone. So, it wasn't you who punched my friend in the face yesterday? If it was me, he had deserved it. Really? Then how about you step outside for a little chat? I looked at the bartender, but he only shrugged. Some empathy, damn it. Alright, let's step out. What else could I do? This outfront music's fucking awesome. Half a minute later, we were standing in an alley behind the bar. A couple older guys joined the school kids. Where did they even come from? Not so tough now, are ya? Said the one I punched yesterday. That'll teach him to stand up for the horse. I looked at the girl. Oh my god. I looked at the girl. Compared to her, Kagome was Mother Teresa. Well, what's next? Gonna beat me, are ya? 4 against 1? That commands some respect. What happened to the code of honor? The Yakuza have one. I sneered at the largest guy among them. You there, you've definitely got the mugshot for a thug. The older ruffians clenched their teeth, their expressions changing. What did you say? Let's get it over with already. A thought flashed into my mind. What if I strike first? That way at least I would retain a smidgen of self-respect. But I had no time to decide, as a strong blow to my back threw me to the ground. That was low. Their blows hit hard, but they did not go on for long. I curled up in a ball, covering my head with my arms. It hurt. That'll teach you not to fucking skip class now, eh? By the time I recovered my senses, those bastards had vanished without a trace. I got up slowly and felt myself all over. Nothing was broken, it seemed. My face was mostly intact as well, except for a black eye. I returned to the bar and sat down in the same seat. No longer I felt like carrying on a cordial conversation with the bartender. Although what could he have done? Stand at my side and fight? Call the police? Nonsense. Hey, this. He pointed up to the side with his eyes. I turned my head. Sitting just a few feet from me was Catherine. Well, hi, I guess, I said a little while later, while waiting for her to open the conversation. Fat chance of that happening. Hi, Catherine replied indifferently. I shifted to a closer seat while she ordered a cocktail for herself. What's with the face? Nothing serious. She wasn't buying it. I fell face first onto concrete several times in a row. Yup, it got lucky this time, but next time victory will be mine. Very similar writing style to Katawa Shoujo, I noticed. Is that so? said Catherine apathetically. So, are you also missing school? I had to start the conversation in the most neutral way as possible. Also, she looked at me in askance. Well, it's nothing new to me. I guess it isn't. I heard you went to the principal. Maybe I did. What of it? The tone of her voice didn't change, but her eyes flashed. Katya, I don't want to start everything up again. Then don't. I'm not. Or was I? Just put yourself in my shoes. How would you be reacting? Wouldn't you be asking the same questions? What questions? Fine, I understand that you're here because of your mother's work, but this particular school? Why? What? Am I getting in your way? Catherine was sipping on her cocktail with an expression of absolute indifference. No, of course not. It's just when I think about how we parted back then. That's all in the past. You didn't really believe that I should have chosen a different school or changed my life in any way just because of you, do you? Why would I do that? Simply to avoid running into you an extra time? That's not what I was thinking. She was right, actually. I had no comeback. But she was right only if she didn't have any feelings for me right now. Everything pointed towards this being the case, but I just didn't want to believe that she could be so cruel. So, everything's alright? Of course. Then we can remain friends. A barely perceptible smirk appeared on Catherine's face. Do you want us to? Why not? The past in the past. We have to move on, go on living. You sound like someone with PTSD. That's when I started getting worked up. Sound the past for me as well, if that's what you mean. Is it? Good. Great. I turned away, pretending to study the menu. Why was I ought to get up and leave? That would be it. I'd have forgotten all about her for sure. Damn it. Was I really still hoping for something? Each time Catherine hurt me more and more. But like a mindless gnat, I kept slamming against the glass. As if I was trying to prove something to someone. In this year and a half, I had become so accustomed to living with the memories of her that now when she was so close, I simply couldn't let go of her. I could notice some things they improved from uh, Everlasting Summer. Everlasting Summer had a bunch of girls in it. This one had a selection of girls for them. So you could definitely know each and every one of them. Unlike Everlasting Summer, which had a lot of girls. I especially like the Miku girl. And, in that game, you could pick where you should go next. Like, pick a place on the map. And then you'd go there. In this game, no. You follow a path, then branch off of it according to your choices. In that game, it really felt like you are free to do what you want to do. Had I read this already? If not, here goes. In this year and a half, I had become so accustomed to living with memories of her that now when she was so close, I simply couldn't let go of her. These memories seemed like my only hope. The only thing holding me back from doing something foolish and fatal. Was I thinking of something specific? Unlikely. But I was hoping, naturally. I see you're not wasting any time. Catherine gave me a surprised look. Nothing was worse than indifference. Better if she got mad at me. I snatched the cocktail out of her hands and said snidely, "Getting an early start, are we?" As I raised the glass to my mouth, I heard Catherine's indifferent voice somewhere in the background. It's not alcoholic. It really was. Sorry. I set the glass back down on the counter. You, on the other hand, have kept your habits, I see. Oh, my stomach's growling. Holy shit. Are you... Holy shit, my stomach's growling. I hope the mic didn't perceive that. I'm gonna finish this bar scene and then I'm gonna be out. Okay? What do you mean? Her eyes shot over to the empty beer mug, which I had tried to move as far away as possible. Gosh darn it, bartender. It's been a rough day. Yeah, how so? Are you really interested? Just keeping up the conversation. Or would you instead prefer to be ignored? I sighed and answered. I was called into the principal's office. Yep, same reason as always. Missing school. Well, you know me. Then there was also a curious episode with a certain Ojo-sama. Your new girlfriend? Are you mocking me? No, just keeping up the conversation, I told you. If I was disturbing you, I can leave. I don't have a girlfriend, nor have I ever, I added in a half whisper. I see. Oh my god. An hour of recording is really putting its toll on me. I see. And how's Himitsu doing? If you're so interested, you could visit her and ask. I don't believe you had a falling out with her. Perhaps I'll go see her. Catherine responded vaguely and glanced towards the entrance. Was she about to leave? Something stung on the inside. I wanted her to stay, even if she was going to mock me. Himitsu is fine. I don't even know what else to tell you. Same as always, basically. Same as always, is she? She dawdled. She drawled. Fuck. Oh my god. Are you surprised that someone can actually treat me normally? Of course not. I'm happy for Himitsu. I'll definitely visit her if I get the chance. But now I need to go. She set the unfinished cocktail down on the counter and stood up. Alright, see you at school. Catherine nodded and exited the bar. Dang, bro. You took a beating. Oh, now my stomach's really growling so fucking hard. I think it's fucking time to stop recording. Well, I'm gonna go cook myself up something. Or maybe just eat what's on the table. There's already some food there. Probably my breakfast. Just some sausages. Anyway, I'll eat those. And then open my PS4 to watch Netflix. Only watching Kakegurui live action. It's pretty good, honestly. The live action was adapted very well. So, yeah. Now I'm going to watch Kakegurui, leaving you guys to yourselves. Bye bye.